Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're taking what feels like the ultimate detour. We are looking at Adam Smith,
Right.
the historical figure who, most people summarize with just 3 words, the invisible hand.
Exactly. But if you've only read, say, the first few pages of The Wealth of Nations, you've missed the whole foundation that came first, the theory of moral sentiments.
And this wasn't about markets.
Not at all. It was about morality. Smith built this just stunningly detailed framework for how humans connect, how we judge each other, and really how we develop a conscience.
So that's our mission today. We're going to unpack the original mechanism Smith proposed,
Yeah.
how we naturally decide if someone is, a good person, what drives our ambition, even when it seems to make us miserable.
And why luck, or what he calls fortune, just completely messes with our moral judgments all the time.
It's like a blueprint for human psychology, but written way before psychology was even a field.
The sources cover these foundations perfectly. We're talking sympathy, propriety, merit, and this idea of the impartial spectator. We are basically giving you the shortcut to understanding the invisible hand of morality.
Okay, let's unpack this. Starting with the absolute foundation of human connection, what Smith calls fellow feeling.
So for Smith, sympathy is really the engine of society, but it's much deeper than just pity. It's this capacity for shared experience.
How does it work?
It's an imaginative feat, really. We put ourselves directly into the situation of the person we're observing. By kind of adopting their circumstances, we start to feel a version of their feelings.
So shared joy or shared sorrow.
Exactly. And what's so interesting is that the sheer delight in seeing someone else share our feelings is its own reward.
The sources mention that when we watch a play or read a heroic story, the joy we feel for the heroes is just as real as the grief we feel for their suffering.
Yes, because for that moment, we've genuinely adopted their perspective. And this delight in mutual sympathy, it dictates so much of our behavior.
Like what?
Well, think about telling a joke. If you look around and realize no one is laughing but you feel deeply embarrassed.
Right. It's awful.
And the pain isn't the joke failing, it's the immediate sense of social isolation. That feeling of, oh, my internal state is not mirrored by anyone else right now.
The connection of feelings is a tremendous welcome, as he puts it. And when that connection fails, it feels like a painful rejection.
And we actively seek it out. Smith gives this beautiful example of reading a favorite book to a friend. You might have read it a dozen times, so you're not getting pleasure from the book anymore.
You're getting it from their reaction.
Precisely. You're deriving renewed pleasure from witnessing their fresh excitement. You're basically getting happy from their happiness through that sympathetic bond.
But Smith points out that this whole process isn't perfectly balanced, is it? It's actually easier for us to sympathize with joy than with, say, profound sadness. Why is that?
Well, it's because excessive suffering is just.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable. It's difficult to maintain imaginatively. If someone is experiencing profound sorrow, we might feel for them, we grant them their circumstances, but we're reluctant to enter fully into it. It's too taxing.
So we offer a sort of tempered sympathy, or maybe just pity. We can tolerate their grief, even if we can't fully share it. But the other way around is much worse.
Much worse. If we can't fully enter into someone's extreme, unbridled joy, if it seems unreasonable or, just too much,
We get annoyed.
that person becomes an object of contempt or even anger. We tolerate suffering much better than what we see as unwarranted happiness.
That's a fascinating social quirk. It suggests society is built to handle modulated suffering, but it really polices high-level, maybe irrational glee. You have to keep your happiness in check to be socially approved.
Exactly. To be approved by others, you have to exert self-command. You temper your joy down to a level they can join in with, and you temper your sorrow to a degree they can comfortably watch. Even our most sincere feelings are constantly being negotiated for social approval.
Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting for me. How do we shift from feeling with others to actually judging them as, moral or immoral?
Smith identifies two completely distinct bases for how we judge actions. And this is a critical distinction that people often miss.
Okay, break those two down for us.
The first is propriety, or appropriateness. This is purely about the motive. We judge whether the feeling that spurred the action was suitable, proportional to the thing that caused it.
So an example, a house is on fire. Propriety judges the motive. Did the person rushing in show courage that was proportional to the danger? Or was it just, reckless panic?
perfect. We're judging the heart, the impulse. This is why we might blame people for excessive love or grief or hatred. We feel the emotion itself is improper because it's just too big for its object.
Okay, so that's the first basis. What's the second?
The second is merit or demerit. And this doesn't look at the motive's appropriateness at all. It only judges the beneficial or painful effects the action intends to produce. So merit is all about the outcome.
Right. So the person rushes into the burning house. The motive is courageous. That's propriety. If they save a child, they have merit because the effect was good.
And if they rush in with that same courage, but say, trip and fail to save the child.
They still had propriety, the good motive, but the merit, the beneficial outcome. It's just not there.
Exactly. Our moral satisfaction is highest when both align. A proper motive leading to a meritorious result. But to do this, to even judge this in ourselves, requires an internal mechanism. And this is the centerpiece of his whole philosophy. The impartial spectator.
Why do we need this internal judge? Can't we just use reason to be good people?
Smith would say no, because we're just powerfully, fundamentally biased towards ourselves. In our own mind, our feelings, our interests, our pain. It all seems enormous, uniquely important.
And this is where he gives that famous analogy, the China earthquake scenario.
Right. Imagine a man in Europe. He hears that the entire kingdom of China has been destroyed by an earthquake, killing hundreds of millions. Smith says this man would, express great sorrow. He'd think about the fragility of human life. And then he'd go back to his business and sleep perfectly soundly that night.
Fine.
But if that same man knew he was going to lose his little finger tomorrow, he wouldn't sleep a wink tonight. The smallest personal inconvenience outweighs a colossal, distant tragedy.
It's a brutal image of self-love, but it proves we can't judge ourselves objectively based on our raw feelings.
And that's where the impartial spectator comes in. It's the voice that corrects this, the man within the breast that reminds us that we are only one of the multitude. Our finger, while it hurts us, is not objectively more important than millions of lives.
So the spectator forces us to see ourselves the way others might see us, objectively. It takes that overwhelming self-love and it converts it into self-command.
That's the idea, and it's a constant, agonizing internal exercise. We achieve dignity and character only by constantly appealing to this imaginary objective judge. We're always trying to act in a way that spectator would approve of.
Moving on to how this plays out in society, Smith draws a really hard line between virtues we admire and the one virtue society must enforce. And that's justice.
Yeah, justice is totally unique. It's the only virtue that he says society may enforce by external force, by punishment.
You can encourage someone to be charitable, but you can't force them.
Exactly. Those virtues are, to some degree, optional. But violating justice? That's an injury. And it merits punishment and societal interference. It's not negotiable.
He argues that society literally can't survive without it. You can have a society without much charity, but not one without justice. Not even a society of robbers, he says. They have to have justice among themselves to cohere at all.
Which brings us to a huge question. If social approval and virtue are so important, why do humans chase wealth and greatness with such obsession? Smith argues it's often completely disconnected from actual happiness.
This is the illusion of utility.
Yes. We pursue the means, the machine, the trinket of utility, rather than the actual enjoyment it provides. We admire the intricate, complex system, not the marginal comfort it adds to the owner's life.
You see this everywhere today. Why do we need the latest phone or the biggest house? The actual utility you get from the upgrade is tiny, but the system, the machine itself, the status it represents, that's what captivates us. We admire a great palace because of the idea of the convenience it must provide.
Even if the owner is miserable inside it.
And this is where the famous concept of the invisible hand actually gets its moral context right. Because of this obsession with systems, the rich acquire all these trinkets, and they have to hire people to maintain them.
They end up consuming little more than the poor in terms of actual necessities. They are forced to employ people and distribute resources. So in their selfish pursuit of what he calls vain grandeur, they are led by an invisible hand to distribute the necessities of life.
They unintentionally help society more than if they had consciously tried to.
It's a profound irony. Society is held together and advanced not by altruism, but by the unintended consequences of human vanity.
And Smith offers a pretty sobering conclusion to this whole pursuit.
He does, a bitter end. When the ambitious man finally gets his goals, maybe in old age or sickness, he often condemns his own toil. He realizes he sacrificed his ease, his health, his youth, for a grandeur that provided almost no real happiness. The spectator finally speaks up and says, You wasted your time on a trinket.
So we have this elegant system of judgment based on motive and effect, propriety and merit. But then Smith introduces a major wrench in the works.
Yeah.
Luck, fortune.
Yes, the irregularity of fortune. This is a huge concession from him. Logically, our moral judgment should be based only on intent and effort. But he admits that's not how it works.
A general whose brilliant plan is thwarted by, say, bad weather.
Receives less actual reward and acclaim than a successful general, even though their moral intent was identical. It feels grossly unfair that our moral standing is partly determined by outcomes we can't control.
And it gets worse when you look at bad intentions, doesn't it?
Oh, much worse. A foiled criminal plan. You try to steal a wallet but fail is punished lightly, maybe just disgrace. But if you succeed, if you get lucky, you might face years in prison. The moral depravity of the intent is exactly the same, but the punishment is dictated by pure, arbitrary chance.
The legal examples in the sources really drive this home. There's an old Scots law he mentions, where a careless act, like just throwing a stone down a street.
If it accidentally kills someone, it could be punished by death. Now think about that. If you throw the stone carelessly and it hits no one, you get a small fine.
Minor recklessness.
But if you throw the exact same stone, the exact same level of carelessness, and it results in a death, the punishment just skyrockets. The severity is entirely due to the victim's misfortune. We're judging the carelessness, but the punishment is amplified by our sympathy for the victim.
So you have to ask, why do we let luck warp our sense of justice so much?
Well, Smith doesn't deny the irregularity, but he justifies it. He argues it serves a critical, beneficial utility for humanity. First, it teaches us that good intentions aren't enough. You have to exert yourself to produce actual beneficial results to get the full praise. It compels practical action. It pushes you to actually succeed.
So if you want credit, you have to deliver.
And second, regarding harm, the fear of this irregular punishment teaches us to fear and avoid even accidental harm. It instills this deep, almost superstitious respect for the happiness and safety of others. We become hypervigilant not just about our intentions, but about the results of our actions.
Because the penalty for accidental failure is so severe.
Exactly. So what seems like a moral flaw, this dependence on chance, is actually Smith's vital social mechanism to maximize good outcomes and minimize carelessness. It creates a moral world governed by both intention and outcome.
So we've traced the mechanics of sympathy. We've analyzed how we judge actions based on motive and effect, explored the constant need for that internal judge, the impartial spectator.
Detailed the surprising role of vanity in driving society forward, and finally looked at how luck is just woven into the fabric of our moral judgment.
Smith's view shows we are constantly in this negotiation between our own powerful self-love and our deep, deep desire for social approval.
It's that tension that really defines human character.
And that desire for social approval brings us right back to the beginning. The sources note that of all the external misfortunes a person can face, even losing their fortune or suffering physical pain, an unjust loss of reputation is considered the greatest of all.
Which leaves us with a truly provocative thought for you to mull over. If the whole goal of Smith's philosophy is to consult our own objective internal judge, the impartial spectator, why does the opinion of others about our character inflict such a catastrophic blow? How deeply does the desire for the love and praise of others truly govern the virtue of even the wisest person, even when they know, deep down, they've done nothing wrong?